Okay, so I'll be recording this video in English just in case either Tyler or Homestead Journey, I don't know what's her name, end up watching this video. And what happens here is Tyler, I've already watched both of the videos. Tyler watched this video about a guy talking about how United Statesians are brainwashed. Okay, and he starts to think, he starts to realize how the educational system from the US, it takes you on a very specific path of understanding how history happened and what's the placement of the United States within worldwide history and US history as well. And this video from Homestead Journey, it is very interesting. It is very interesting because Homestead Journey gets a lot of TikTok videos together about United Statesians talking about their lives, how United States reality is right now. But this one it specifically says about how people from outside US see the United States citizens. And I think this will be a good uh, cross between videos. Okay, so let's start.
What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here.
I find it really funny how Tyler this way of talking things. I am just a typical. Uh,
Today.
oh, but I like him. I like him because he puts himself in the place of watching videos that criticize United States, you know, and he's, as I spoke before, he starts to think. He doesn't immediately ignores it or neglects it.
To react to this video called Why the World Thinks Americans Are Brainwashed. So, obviously that's pretty disturbing, alarming to hear, and it definitely makes me question some things. But brainwashed can mean a lot of different things. So, I mean, to be honest, I do think a lot of Americans really think that the US is the greatest place in the world, and there's nothing you could say to change their mind.
Now, why most United States believe that US is the biggest super mega blaster country of all times? Because they are teached that way. As I said before, it is a specific path, a specific view on how US is along all of its history.
But, I got to admit that's something that we are definitely told a lot. As children growing up here, they literally teach you, like, this is the greatest place ever, and we are the best. And so, I don't know. It's kind of weird thinking about that kind of stuff. So today, I thought it'd be very interesting to check this video out. This is by Holy Kool-Aid, and it's
Yeah.
called Why the World Thinks Americans Are Brainwashed. So let's take a look.
As someone who has lived in over a dozen countries and traveled to more than 35 of them, I've started noticing some extremely troubling forms of propaganda that Americans are taught from childhood. Things that people in free, developed democratic countries overseas find absolutely bizarre. And
See, this is like kind of troubling to me, but at the same time, I'm very very curious, like to see what people think, like from an outsider point of view. Like here in the US, I understand we are in our own little bubble, our own culture, our own way of thinking, and it it's actually, I think, valuable to hear like what people think about us, people who are outside of the US. That's something that we don't get exposed to very much. So,
So as I said before, it would be a nice cross of videos exactly because of this. Because both of them talks about how outsiders, people not from the United States, see United States, what's the perception on country.
yeah, as yeah, I'm a bit nervous about this, but I think it's good. I hope.
things that most Americans never question because we've been marinating in it since birth. And look, every country has its own brand of propaganda. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
pretend that America is
Mhm.
uniquely evil here, but what makes American propaganda so effective is that most of us don't even realize it exists.
That's scary. I mean, but that's how propaganda and brainwashing works. They make it seem like it was your idea, or you don't even realize
Yeah.
you're getting influenced by certain
Yeah.
ideas or philosophies, or like he said, this isn't unique to the United States, I would think. Everybody is influenced by the ideas and the culture that you are born into and where grow up and learn and are raised. I think everyone is susceptible to that, but I don't know. He just makes it sound like the US, that we uniquely like are brainwashed or have like these crazy things that we don't realize about ourselves. So yeah, let's see.
We think that propaganda is something that happens in North Korea or Soviet bases, posters of dictators, and state controlled media. We don't recognize it when it's sung at football games and printed on a bumper sticker. So here are 7 forms of propaganda that you probably didn't even realize that you grew up with.
That's true, actually. Oh, for a lot of Americans, like we're aware of propaganda. We're aware of like fake news and
Yeah.
brainwashing, and but we
Sorry, Tyler, but uh, United States don't actually realize so much the fake news, as you say. Not sure which what's a good word? At what level you guys are able to realize the propaganda?
just think, oh, that's that's them. That's couldn't be us. No, no, couldn't be us. No, not a, what? We just think we're above that, but it's like, how would you know? Because that's how brainwashing and propaganda works. You don't realize it. So how would we know unless we're told? So it's scary. But again, I think good to acknowledge.
If you're an American.
Holy
Holy
coolish.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Number 1, US centric education. American history is extraordinarily short. We are talking a few centuries compared to civilizations that span millennia. And yet, if you
United States as a nation. Because if you count original people, um, indigenous people, United States would be a far larger history, but no colonizers, which I rather call them invaders, erased, wiped out this whole history.
grew up in an American public school, you would think that the United States was the center of human history.
That's true. Like because I've done a couple of videos now here on YouTube, like learning about some of the European history. There's so much history that we were never taught that I
Yeah.
never realized. This is totally correct. Like looking back, when you're a kid, you don't realize it, but especially in the United States, that's why so many of us end up growing into adults and thinking like the US is the only place in the world and like we're the only country that exists or matters. That's why a lot of Americans think that because of our education, we're literally not taught so much of history.
Geography classes often aren't taught at all, and world history courses, when they are taught, are basically how does the rest of the planet relate to America? The Vietnam
Yeah.
War is taught as a war for freedom. Westward expansion is framed as brave pioneers taming a wild frontier, not as the systematic displacement and genocide of indigenous peoples who've been living there for thousands of
Yeah.
years.
Sure, it's what you teach, it's how you teach it, what they choose not to teach.
Yeah.
To be honest, I thought in the US we just had like a really really bad education as far as history.
You see, it's just like Don Quixote do Flamingo says. It is the winners from the war who write the history. Okay? Just to quote a little of One Piece here.
And world geography. I just thought we did a bad job. Now I'm thinking, is that on purpose? Is there a motive? Are they purposefully not teaching us things
Yes, yes,
about the rest of the world,
yes,
about history,
yes,
as a way of controlling the way we
yeah.
think about things? Now I just thought it was they're lazy, like teachers and the US
No.
education. Now I'm wondering, is it all on purpose?
World War
Yeah,
II, Americans swoop in and save the day, with little mention of the roughly 27 million Soviets who died on the Eastern Front doing the bulk of the fighting against Hitler. Now,
Absolutely the way that we paint ourselves as like the heroes of every situation. Um, oh my God, this is so true.
Now, compare that to how other countries teach history. In much of Europe, kids actually learn global history. They study African kingdoms, Asian dynasties, Middle Eastern contributions.
yeah. And here in Brazil, we learn the history of Brazil. We learn global history, right? But at least during the time that I was in fundamental and high school, as United States would say, we still have a really Eurocentric education, right? So much that I don't quite know a lot about the countries of Africa histories. Could be interesting for at least talk about Lusophone countries from Africa, which are Angola, São Tomé and Príncipe, Cape Verde, but we don't. We don't.
To science and mathematics. They learn about colonialism for what it
Wow.
actually is,
Yeah.
not heroic adventure, but exploitation. When I talk to Americans who are traveling abroad for the first time, I'm often shocked at how little they know about the rest of the world.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, wow.
Oh, and I just talked about uh, three countries that talk Portuguese. There's a state in India named Goa, which was a Portuguese colony. There's Timor-Leste, which is close to the Philippines, I think. Um, there's the city of Macau at China, which was Portuguese colony, and there was more two countries in Africa, I think. Yeah, from Portuguese colonizing along the world.
And this is just the first point about American brainwashing. Oh my God. Because already this is making like a pretty good case. What else is there?
That's not by accident. A nation which doesn't teach its citizens about the world produces citizens who don't question their own nation's role in it.
Yeah.
Wow. I've never thought about it like that. I just thought we had like a bad education.
No.
Now I'm thinking like is that a way of controlling how we think?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Number 2, the Cold War binary. If you grew up in America anytime after 1950, you absorbed one of the most effective propaganda frameworks ever constructed. Communism equals evil, capitalism equals freedom. Full stop. No nuance, no discussion, just a clean binary where one side wears white hats and the other side is a cartoon villain. What
Yeah.
they don't teach you is that during the Cold War, the United States overthrew democratically elected governments around the world simply because the governments leaned left. In
Yeah.
1953, the CIA helped orchestrate a coup against Iran's democratically elected Prime
Yeah.
Minister Mohammad Mossadegh because he nationalized Iran's oil industry. In 1954, the US toppled Guatemala's president Arbenz because his land reforms threatened the profits of United Fruit Company.
And Tyler, most of the dictatorships that happened in Latin America happened because of the United States intervention, which was, I believe, the name of the plan was Plan Condor.
Yeah, this is definitely not how they teach it in the United States. A lot of this stuff, especially the Cold War, they did. I barely remember learning much of anything about that. Probably, I just thought again they did a bad job teaching it. No, it's because it makes us look bad,
Yeah.
so we purposefully do not teach things that make the United States look bad. That's
Yeah.
what I'm realizing.
In 19...
For example, socialism would get most of the countries better in comparison to what they are now. So, what did the United States try to do? They tried to lean Norway, they tried to lean Finland, they tried to lean Iceland, to a more social democratic, which waits more to the people. It benefits more the people than the companies. To say no, capitalism produces good things. Capitalism produces good living conditions. And Japan was after World War II. Japan was basically a colony from the United States and South Korea as well, just to try to push away Russian and Chinese socialist, not intervention, but how can I put it? Uh, I not remember the word, the translation to English, you know. But that's the thing the U.S. tries to do the most. Capitalism is the order of the world. Socialism and communism and anarchism should be destroyed. But actually, I hope that after Trump, you guys really think about doing the socialist states of America. Not the United States of America, but socialist states of America.
1973, the CIA backed the overthrow of Chile's Salvador Allende, a democratically elected socialist, and replaced him with Augusto Pinochet, a brutal military dictator who tortured and murdered thousands. The Congo, Brazil, Indonesia,
What?
it's all the same playbook. America claimed to be defending democracy while systematically destroying it in order to exploit country after country.
Yes,
This
Tyler.
all is...
And if they do teach this stuff, they don't give all the different sides. Like they give the
Yeah.
American version, where we're the
Yeah,
heroes.
yes.
Because
You're getting it.
if they had taught us all this stuff, like how he is presenting it,
Yeah.
I guarantee you it would have changed the way I think about the United States and every child in the U.S.
So you, that's why I like to watch Tyler. He absorbs it, and he doesn't immediately neglect it. He's starting to get it. He's starting to understand how US isn't good for the whole world. United States thinks about United States and no one else.
It would change the way we think about our country. We might question it. We might criticize it,
Yeah,
which, you know, don't get me wrong, a lot of us end up doing, but not till we're adults. Not till way later in life do we start questioning things for the first time. And it seems to be like by design.
Is recent history.
it is by design.
And this binary thinking is still alive and well. If you suggest universal healthcare in America, watch how quickly someone calls you a communist. Propose free
Yeah.
public university education, something that dozens of thriving democracies already provide.
Yeah, because I have wondered after learning about some of this stuff as an adult, like universal healthcare coverage and free education, like I have wondered often now why we don't do that in the United States.
Because it isn't profitable for companies. If you do a universal public healthcare system at the United States, people won't have to pay for it. And someone will have actually to pay for it, which are more taxes. But if you don't raise taxes on companies, then you will have to raise taxes on the population, and that cuts the buying power that the population would have. But if you do that, the population will not get so happy. But you have lobbying in the United States. Here at Brazil, it is illegal to do lobbying. It is called corruption. Okay? But at the United States, you can contract a lobbyist. A company can contract a lobbyist. The lobbyist will talk to politicians. The politicians will take the money from the lobbyist and propose laws that are beneficial to companies. Okay? Here at Brazil, this is called corruption.
It's a conversation we never had as children. We're just taught, this is the way we.
Oh, and it's because of the lobby that you won't ever get universal healthcare system. That's why you won't have quality, universal quality education. That's why you guys won't have shit. A lot of things the other countries has.
Do it in the US, and that's the right way. And it makes absolutely no sense when you can think for yourself. So, and a lot of that is very obviously to me, I understand now because in the United States, there's a ton of money being made off of us from healthcare, insurance, and
Yeah,
student loans, paying
yeah.
for education. A lot of that stuff has to do with how the US wants to take advantage of its own citizens for money.
Not the government, but the companies, Tyler. The companies, the businessmen, businesswomen.
If we're talking about those in, specifically.
And suddenly you're a Marxist. The Cold War ended over 30 years ago, but the propaganda framework it built is still alive and kicking. Number 3, the land of the free myth. Americans are told from birth that the United States is the freest country on earth. It's
Yes.
in the songs, it's on the bumper stickers. It's baked into the nation's identity so deeply that questioning it feels almost heretical. But
Absolutely. This is something we are taught nonstop as children. And like he's saying, it's in all of our national songs, the land of the free, free to how we are the most free and we are the most proud. And that's like, that is one of America's
You may even be the most proud, but you definitely ain't the most free.
core identities right there. And what goes along with that is it doesn't just stop there. It's like we're taught we are free and the rest of the world is not free. The rest of the world doesn't understand. Which, as a child, you believe.
But is it true? Well, let's look at the data. On the Reporters Without Borders Press Freedom Index, the US doesn't crack the top 50. It ranks 57th in the world, just below Sierra Leone. On the Cato Institute's Human Freedom Index, and keep in mind, the Cato Institute is a libertarian think tank, not some leftist outfit, multiple countries outrank America in both
Wow.
personal and economic freedom.
So literally, according to the data,
Yeah.
which of course they don't show you in the US, we are objectively not the most free. That's another thing I'm realizing. There's a lot of like statistics and data that literally show how the United States does not rank very highly for happiness or education or freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't show you that stuff when you're a kid, when you're growing up. So it's not just what they teach you that can be brainwashing or propaganda. It's what they choose not to teach you. That's what I'm realizing.
The United States incarcerates more people per capita than almost every other country on the planet. More than China, more than Russia, Iran, or North Korea. The land of the free locks up more of its own citizens than almost every authoritarian regime on Earth.
And yet here they'll tell you it's for your safety. It's for your safety. And you just don't, you're told, oh, it's so I'm safe. Okay, great. And you don't think about it. But if they told you this, if they told you, do you know that the United States locks up the most people by far, more than authoritarian governments do? That would make people question it. Instead, they just say, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. They're criminals, it's for your safety. And people don't question it.
A disproportionate number of them are Black and Latino. This is not what freedom looks like. It is a system designed to warehouse people. But it goes deeper. A handful of corporations control vast swaths of American industry, from media to agriculture to healthcare and tech. These corporations aren't just influencing a little bit of government policy, they're writing the policy. Politicians respond to donors and lobbyists, not constituents.
This is something that I've learned about recently in my life, like how corrupt the US government is. And I think it's particularly poignant right now because of Donald Trump and the Trump government and the utter disaster it's really brought to light how corrupt our government is, and how, just like he said, like how much wealthy people, donors, people are allowed to donate to Donald Trump and then get favors, and then companies and corporations also get a say in our laws and our policy decisions. And you better believe when you're a little kid in school and they're teaching you about our government and teaching you about how laws are passed, none of that is brought up, of course. But that is 1000% how it works.
Hell, there was a Princeton study which actually found that the preferences of American voters have a near zero statistical impact on whether a policy gets passed or not. But the preferences of economic elites, big businesses, and organized interest groups are strongly correlated with what policies actually get passed into law.
We should be way more upset. Like, American citizens should be way more mad at our own government. That's how you know we're brainwashed, because we should be way more upset about all this, but we're not, because so many Americans don't know about it or don't care, because we've also been taught not to question it or not to care.
In other words, your politicians don't care what you want, unless you're a billionaire. Elections are largely bought and paid for. Gerrymandering carves up districts so that the politicians can choose their voters rather than the other way around, like
Yeah, this here is the gerrymandering. Yeah, it is horrible, horrible. You literally manipulate how the voting will be counted in spaces, so you would normally have these here at Brazil, for example, you have one state which has this proportion of orange and this proportion of purple, and this is what will be counted. So 60% orange, so orange wins. Okay? And here 40% purple, purple loses. So gerrymandering, you change the spaces so votes will be counted differently. And here you end up with 3 purple. Okay, so here orange wins. And then here suddenly purple wins. Okay? This is literally vote manipulation. Territorial vote manipulation.
It should be in a free democracy. Voter suppression laws target communities least likely to vote for the people in power, and the two-party system has become a self-reinforcing trap that incentivizes extremism over representation.
The two-party system, another thing I've thought about recently, is especially when you learn that in other parts of the world, like a lot of other countries, have way more than two political parties.
Yeah, here in Brazil we have about more than 20 more than 20 parties, I believe. Definitely above 15.
Way more than two choices. I never realized how strange, how bad that is. But that's another thing that's totally normal and not questioned in the US, that we have two choices, Republican or Democrat, and that's it. There's so many things like that that we don't even realize are crazy.
We are taught, and this is hardcore propaganda, that America's electoral system is the best. Well, except when our guy loses, of course. But there is a much better electoral system. It is called ranked choice voting. And the only people who prefer our current system over ranked choice are those who are financially incentivized against freedom and democracy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Here's how it works. With ranked choice, instead of picking just one candidate and hoping for the best, you rank out your preferences with your top choice at the top and your least choice at the bottom. If no one wins a majority, the candidate with the fewest votes gets eliminated, and the people who voted for them have those votes redistributed to their second choice. You keep going until someone actually has majority support.
That's interesting. Is this common in other parts of the world? That's very interesting. It's also a way for people who are voting, people who want to vote for a minority candidate or something not very popular, they can do that, but their vote will still count if that person isn't elected. If I understand this correctly, that's very interesting. Why would we not do that? Well, for one thing, we only have two choices, so I don't know if this would.
Why would the US do that? Because that doesn't favors the ones with power and absolute bastard amounts of wealth.
Even work here.
It rewards candidates who appeal broadly rather than those who energize the extremes. It reduces what's known as the spoiler effect and creates a better reflection of what voters actually want. There are already several US cities and states which have already adopted ranked choice voting.
Because literally, like during elections, sometimes there's like a third candidate, like an independent, and people don't bother voting for that person, even if they like them, because they feel like their vote is wasted. This system prevents that. So this is great.
And it's the norm in countries like Australia and Ireland. But most Americans have never even heard of it because the two parties currently in power have zero incentive to tell you about the system that would threaten their grip, and they have every incentive to criticize it.
That's scary. That's scary that there's so many amazing ideas so many amazing things we could be doing to make America better that we don't because the people in power don't want things to change.
Yeah.
That's how we think of like North Korea. Like, oh, yeah, they don't educate their citizens so that they
Oh.
don't question anything
Uh,
because they don't want anything to change. I'm seeing so much of that exact same playbook here in the US.
what happens is nobody wants to change things in North Korea because things are good for North Koreans. Because the socialist country that North Korea has built gives everything everyone needs, and there is no unemployment in the whole country. Okay? North Korea is what every country would like to be, except for those who have absurd amounts of wealth and power.
We Most Americans would never think that about us. That's North Korea. That's for crazy countries. We are literally doing that.
You should run aggressively against ranked choice voting. It is a big.
Number 4, America's stupidly big military budget. The US spends more on its military than the next 10 countries combined.
Oh my
Let that sink
God.
in. More than China, Russia, the UK, Saudi Arabia, Germany, France, Japan, South Korea, and Australia put together.
And if Trump wants to save its economy, he should close all of the overseas military bases. He should end OTAN, okay? So, in order to save money, and this money he should reinvest within United States. But will he do that? No, because that's socialism.
So this is an interesting one because it's something we're taught to be very proud of in the like we're taught to be very, very, very proud of our military. And I am. Maybe because I was taught. But I do genuinely feel proud and thankful for the people who defend me and my country. That's a very brave,
Wait up.
honorable thing to do. Like anybody around the world who's in their nation's military. It's a very honorable thing and it's important. But in the United States, we definitely put a lot of emphasis on it. And I mean, I understand we spend an insane amount of money on our military,
Unfathomable amount of money.
but I think a lot of Americans are okay with that because it makes us feel safe.
Mm.
Like, but what we don't realize, I think, is that it's so overkill. It's so over the top. Our military budget is the next 10 countries put together. That's not necessary. We
Yeah.
can we can still have an amazing military without wasting so much money and resources, but it's like we're scared to even question this cuz just like freedom, the military is like that's our identity, that's our thing. So we don't even question it. And it really needs to be questioned.
Now, Americans are taught that this spending is about protecting freedom and defending the free world. And
Yeah.
sure, a reasonable national defense is necessary. But the
Eh.
vast majority of this budget doesn't go to defense. It funds over 750 military bases in
Yeah.
at least 80 countries. It funds
Wow.
interventions, regime changes, drone
Yeah.
programs, and the maintenance of a global military empire. Meanwhile,
I think at the very least, the US military needs to be accountable for what we spend the money on. That's like in the US, I have no idea where my taxpayer money is going. Probably the military. So I would at least like to know exactly what they're using the money on. But that's on us. That's American citizens need to hold our government accountable. That's on us. Like, in it's it's like we're it's easy to say that you're being taken advantage of. It's easy to say,
But you are
"Oh,
being
they're
taken.
lying to us. They're not telling us the everything." Well, it's like, well, you can do something.
They aren't telling you everything.
Like as citizens, the government is supposed to be scared of you. You know, the government is supposed to serve you. That's what it's there for. So, as American citizens, I feel like we have kind of failed ourselves, not holding our government accountable for this.
While American roads are crumbling, bridges are collapsing, the healthcare system bankrupts families, teachers buy their own classroom supplies,
Yeah.
student debt has surpassed 1.7 trillion, and millions of Americans can't afford basic prescriptions. Other countries, meanwhile, invest their resources differently. Universal healthcare, free or affordable higher education, robust public transit, paid parental leave, affordable childcare, and as a result, their citizens are measurably healthier, better educated, less stressed, and by many metrics, happier. This
Ah, man, it does open my eye. It does make me think, if we spent some of that taxpayer money instead of the military, if we spent that on healthcare,
Yeah.
education,
Yeah.
infrastructure,
Yeah. You're getting it.
I think Americans we would love it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just we don't even realize that that's important.
Tyler, basically all of the functioning of US is based on capitalism, on the concentration of wealth, on the concentration of power. Okay? The, it's how I said before. I hope that after Trump, you guys create the socialist states of America. You'll be much, much happier. I promise you.
So, I thought using the term brainwashed was a little strong, but it's like it's either we're brainwashed or we're brain dead because we don't even think about this kind of stuff, how much it could help the US to put some of that money towards other public services other than the military. And we could still have a fine military at the same time. We could have it all. What it really makes you think.
isn't speculative, it's what the data consistently shows.
Yeah.
Historians have a term for what happens when an empire pours its resources into military expansion while its domestic foundations rot. Imperial overstretch. And it's how empires collapse. The Romans did it, the British did it, the Soviets did it, and if you look at the trajectory, America is running headfirst over the same cliff. Number 5. The Pledge of Allegiance. Having children stand up every single morning, place their hands over their heart, face a flag, and recite a loyalty oath in unison is, by any outside standard, one of the creepiest things about America.
It's funny because
Just a comment about how overspending military breaks empires. And he said that the socialists is mentioning USSR, right? You United Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR. They have been under the siege and repression outside, external repression, and with espionage within the USSR for a good amount of time. So while USSR still existed, they had to, but part of the work to grant a good living for all of the citizens, but they also had to put a good amount of effort to build military forces, retain any attacks against them. Okay, so when I was teaching about USSR, it was only the Cold War, but I was presented a version, just a little version that wouldn't say that USSR was bad, but it wouldn't say that it was good as well. But US wasn't presented as bad, but it was bad. US was presented to me as good within the Cold War. Now, USSR ended up breaking because of external pressure and because eventually you would have general secretaries that started to opening the economy more and more and more to the point that USSR just ended up ending in 1991.
It's amazing what you can think is normal. As a kid, I never questioned this. The Pledge of Allegiance. Do and as an adult, I never really thought it was weird. But it's like, do when when you think about it, do other countries do this?
Yes, during some time when I was a child, sometimes when I was a teenager, I will have to sing the national anthem, Brazil's national anthem, every was the fifth day of the week. I never remember the English names of the days. But that ended in 2008, something around that. So some countries, yeah, they have this with kids and teenagers.
This is why it's important to have like an outside perspective. Is that weird? In the US, in school, before school starts, we put our hand over our hearts and we look at the American flag and we all recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, every morning. And
Yeah, every morning, that's really strange. I had to do it once a week, not for my whole education, but a part of it.
still remember it to this day. And none of us really thought it was weird. Looking at things now, that's very weird, isn't it?
I'm not saying this to be edgy. When you describe this practice to people from other democracies, their jaws hit the floor. They associate it with the kind of thing that you would see authoritarian regimes do, not in a country that calls itself the leader of the free world. Because think about what the pledge actually is. It is a feudal fealty oath. It is a declaration of personal loyalty to a state.
Yeah, and I think the most disturbing part is that we make children do it. Children, children who don't understand what they're even pledging. We make children do this.
Now, I understand why elected officials and military personnel swear oaths of service. That makes sense. They're accepting a position of public responsibility. But requiring a 6-year-old to pledge allegiance to a flag before they can even spell allegiance? It's brainwashing. Like, you realize the founding fathers would be horrified by this, right?
I never really thought of it that way. Wow. Yeah, but I agree. Wow. These are the types of conversations that we just don't really have in the United States. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's shocking how many things like should be addressed that we just don't even think about.
These were
Yeah.
men who literally threw off the yoke of another red, white, and blue flag when it represented tyranny. They understood and wrote extensively about the fact that it is the duty of every free person to question authority and resist tyranny, not just pledge blind loyalty to a piece of cloth. The entire American experiment was built on the idea that governments derive their power from the consent of the governed, and that when a government fails its people, those people have the right and the obligation to challenge it.
Really.
I think that's what America stood for when it was created. I agree. Like, we fought for the way America was founded. The US, we fought for our independence and broke free and became a very successful nation and questioned how we were governed, and I think like enough time has passed where we've just kind of forgotten like those philosophies that our country was founded on.
This is the entire reasoning behind the Second Amendment. Creating mindless, loyal zombies out of children is the exact opposite of what the founders fought for, and yet suggest that we stop doing this in our children's schools and watch how fast you get called un-American. Number 6, the myth that America was founded as a Christian nation. If you've ever driven through the American South, or honestly large parts of the Midwest and rural America, you've probably seen billboards saying things like, hell is real, abortion is murder, and Jesus saves.
These are real, and you see them everywhere. Yeah, absolutely.
They line the highways like wallpaper, so pervasive that most people stop noticing them. Religious messaging in America is so saturated into the culture that it becomes invisible, which is exactly what makes it so effective. But here's what a lot of Americans don't know.
I mean, I've always thought those were pretty stupid. Like, I do notice them. And to this day, and I like laugh to myself, like, and think, oh, that's so stupid. Like, that's ridiculous. So I don't think this particular form of brainwashing has worked on me. I do acknowledge how insane and stupid that looks.
The United States was never a Christian nation. The founders were explicit about this. The Constitution makes zero mention of Christianity or Jesus. The First Amendment enshrines the separation of church and state. The Treaty of Tripoli, unanimously ratified by the Senate in 1797 and signed by President John Adams, states in very plain language that the government of the United States is not, in any sense, founded on the Christian religion.
I don't really relate to that stuff very much, but for a lot of Americans, this would be heresy. This would be unthinkable to say. A lot of Americans identify the United States as a Christian nation. So, yeah, this applies to a lot of the population of the US.
That is not my interpretation. That is a legally binding document from the founding generation. So, where did the Christian nation myth come from? Well, in keeping with the rest of this video, propaganda. Cold War propaganda, to be specific. Under God was added to the Pledge of Allegiance in 1954. In God We Trust was added to the paper currency in 1957.
That recently, huh? Because, yeah, I've noticed that our money has under God. A lot of our national, like the Pledge of Allegiance that we say has references God. So it makes sense why a lot of Americans identify Christianity with the U.S.
And adopted as the national motto the year before. Our original motto, E Pluribus Unum, is more about plurality. Out of many, one. Both of these actions were deliberate moves to contrast the United States against godless communism. They weren't ancient traditions passed down by the founders. They're marketing decisions which were made by politicians in the 1950s. And now, barely 70 years later, millions of Americans will swear on a stack of Bibles that this country was founded as a Christian nation.
Absolutely. I did not know that. That's insane. Wow.
And that anyone who says otherwise is attacking their heritage. The conflation of patriotism with Christianity is itself a product of propaganda, and it's one of the most dangerous because it means that questioning religion in America isn't just seen as blasphemy, it's treason. Number 7, American exceptionalism. This one is huge, the one that ties all the rest of it together.
American exceptionalism. This I think is the idea that America is the greatest, which I think is one of the biggest core value that we are taught as little children growing up in the US. We are taught that we are the best country. So I'm interested about this because this is like perhaps the most true one.
American exceptionalism isn't just this belief that America is different. It's a belief that America is inherently superior, better, divinely favored, the greatest country that God ever put on this earth. And it functions not just as a belief, but as
Yeah.
a social enforcement mechanism. Because in America, criticism of the country is treated as betrayal. Point out that other nations have better healthcare outcomes, and you're told, well, why don't you just move there? So
Yeah.
Here, Brazil, we have the universal healthcare system, the SUS, and there was a time that our Supreme Federal Court had to decide if the universal healthcare system would be open to foreigners or not. And they decided that yes. So people from the United States, for example, could fly from United States, come to Brazil, be tended to by our universal healthcare system, get cured from cancer or whatever else is happening, and go back to US. You know? But you guys don't have a universal healthcare system. Often your healthcare insurances will do everything they can not to pay for for your healthcare, and they do everything they can to pay as less as possible if you can if you end up accessing your benefits from your healthcare insurance
Yeah, we have a big problem with
with the world.
criticism. That alone explains a lot of this, frankly. Explains a lot of the troubles we have. We have so much trouble with criticism, with admitting that there are things we don't do well
Lot of
and that
things.
there are things we don't know and things that we do wrong.
A lot of things.
That would be the first step in changing a lot of these things.
Yeah.
But the first step is admitting this stuff is true, which
Yeah.
I don't think we're really willing to do.
suggest that the military budget is bloated, and it is bloated, and suddenly you hate our troops. If you point out that Americans rank poorly on education, press freedom, or infant mortality compared to other developed countries, and you're suddenly ungrateful. Even liberals and progressives who critique America specifically because they want to improve it get branded as unpatriotic. Do you see how backwards that is? The messaging.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. It's like, if you're criticizing the US, especially if you're being constructive, if you're suggesting ways we could be better, that is a good thing. That should be welcome. That's how anybody improves. Instead, we get very defensive and angry, and it's very true.
Is clear. You can love America or you can criticize it. You can't do both. But in most healthy democracies, critique is understood as a form of patriotism. Wanting your country to live up to its own ideals isn't betrayal. It is the highest form of civic engagement. The pressure to never question America, to treat any criticism as an attack, to reflexively defend the status quo no matter how messed up it is because admitting a problem feels like admitting defeat, that social pressure is itself one of the most effective forms of propaganda there is. Because it doesn't require a government agency or state-run media outlets, it's enforced by your neighbors and your coworkers, your family, and your own internalized guilt.
Jeez. Oh my God. This is crazy. Like, I feel like every American should watch this. Seriously. It's very good. It's very eye-opening, and it's difficult in many ways. I feel like I'm pretty open-minded about a lot of things, so I'm trying to like take this in and be open-minded about it. I think that a lot of Americans would not like to hear this. Would not like this at all.
Like I said at the beginning, I don't hate America. I want it to be better. And if that makes me un American in your eyes, then, well, I think I kind of proved my point. It is the civic duty of every citizen to question what we've been taught, to explore outside the bubble, whether that's through reading, traveling, or learning other languages, using LingoPie, of course, and
Yeah.
exposing ourselves to the perspectives that challenge our own assumptions.
Yeah, we really aren't taught to have an interest in that stuff. We're not taught to have an interest in other cultures or countries or other ways of doing things. Because why would we do, why? Because the US does everything perfect already. There's no need to learn a different way. It's insane.
It's our duty to push back against propaganda and to exercise the very First Amendment rights that we claim to value. Because things don't have to be like this. They can be better. But we have to first recognize the propaganda and be honest with ourselves in order to get there. If you
Yeah.
guys enjoy.
Yeah. Exactly. You have to be honest. I don't know if I have a hard time believing that things are going to change much here in the US. There are those of us that are open-minded, but the propaganda, the brainwashing, the brain dead mentality is strong. And there's a lot of people who don't care. Donald Trump became our president, for God's sake.
Donald Trump is ruining United States of America. Just the tariffs that he imposed last year. Uh, Apparently, there was a lot of United Statesians that believed that the other countries would pay the tariffs. But what is an importation tariff? For example, the example that I commonly use. Suppose a company in the United States buys a car, electric car from China for $50,000, for example, and you have a tariff of 10%. This car will get out of China, go to USA. It is $50,000 during this travel. It reaches United States, you have to pay the tariff, 10%. But who pays the tariff isn't China. It is the company that bought the car. Okay? So this car, which was $50,000, is now $55,000 for the company. So the company will have other expenses to bring the car to the shop, then to sell it. But the company has to have some profit over it. So let's say they want 10% of profit. So this car was firstly 50,000, he became 55,000 when it entered the US, and now the company wants 10% profit. So you have to add more $5,500. So this car went from 50,000 to $60,500. But when the tariffs were, for example, 100%, this car would get out of China being $50,000. When it reaches US, it is 100% tariff. This car passes on to $100,000. Then, from expenses and everything, you bring the car to the shop. The company needs its profit. This car goes from $100,000 to $110,000. 110K. So 50K to 110K for the final consumer. And and US imports so many things. And with the war against Iran, you have mess it up with all the oil in the world and gas, that inflation will hit everything from food to transportation to maybe energy, probably energy as well. You got Trump fucked up everything, everything, and a lot of people from around the world don't already didn't like US. Now they like even less. So yeah, Trump is what's the name? Titanic. He Titanicized USA.
That's like a big signal, perhaps, that the United States is having a lot of problems, including all of this stuff. But it should also be, I think it's been eye-opening for a lot of Americans too, who are like, wait, we're supposed to be the greatest, but everything sucks right now, and everyone hates us. So that's at least like kind of a wake-up call. But I don't know if it's enough. I don't. But yeah, we have to be honest with ourselves and admit a lot of things that we don't want to admit, like that we are brainwashed in many ways as kids, and that we need to be self-analytical more. And it's tough, but so important. So this was great. I'm so glad I took a look at this. It's hard to look at yourself and look at your own country objectively.
Hey, mate.
And sort of hearing about it from an outside perspective is a great way to do that. So this was great. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to.
So after this study, we'll have a lot to think about. And please do help make socialism a normal thinking within USA again. Now, heading on to Homestead Journey.
So because of everything that just
Oh, what other countries think of America is hard to ignore. So how people from outside USA think about USA. Okay.
continues to happen, it seems like America is becoming less and less popular for a lot of people. A lot of people are losing interest in coming to the
Yeah.
US. They see the way
Las Vegas is empty and is a city that relies a lot on people going and spending money on casinos and hotels and uh, whatever events are going on. And nobody wants to nobody wants to try to enter the US, but then you get deported, so you spend a lot of money on ticket planning, and suddenly you're heading home because ICE won't let you in. You know, just from the start of the World Cup right now, uh, there's a there's a soccer team that had to relocate to Mexico because they weren't allowed to get in United States.
things are going. It used to be a very different country and opportunities were different. And now things are just changing so much, especially when you look at, politics and things like that. And if you ever wondered what people genuinely think about US citizens from their perspective, here are some videos that I found.
I'm from Australia, and I've been posting about providing an outsider's perspective to Americans on what's happening in the States. I decided to do that because I'd see a lot of Americans on TikTok saying, where is the international community? What do other people think? What are you seeing? It's not getting through. And I've been so lucky that I've been able to get through to some Americans and I've been getting some answers. And to those who've engaged with me, thank you very much for letting me know how you're going, letting me know your perspectives. It's been really, really informative to me. And I hope my view is helpful to you in some way. But let's go back to the original question. When Americans say, we need help, what help do you want? What do you want us to do? And I'm not asking that in some sort of obnoxious way. I genuinely am curious. What do you think we can do or should do for you?
United States of America truly is a capitalist corporate hellscape, and I can say that standing right here with both of my feet firmly in Sydney, Australia, because the
Oh,
other day.
just a little. Uh, back to the video.
I heard something from an American that made me so sick that my bones were shivering, and I thought, do I call the cops? Okay? I am so worried for you all after hearing this. I was on a Zoom call, right? And we did a little pre-Zoom call chat where you're going, the little bullshit small talk that you do. And the person on the other end in LA was saying, oh my God, my dream is to go to Australia. Like, you're in Australia. Wow, so amazing. Like, my girlfriend's gone and she just loved it. Like, I'm dying to go. And I was like, oh my God, you should absolutely come. You should come and you should go to Aotearoa as well. I would even say Aotearoa before Australia. Like, I love that country so much. It's so amazing. Da, 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 da. Talking, casual chat. She goes, no, I would love to. Like, I would love to. I was like, babe, the flight isn't even that long. It's only 14 hours. Like, don't worry. I know all of you Americans and Europeans think that it's so far away, but it's actually okay. It's actually fine. She goes, no, 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 it isn't that. It isn't that. She's like, yeah, I just can't go. And I was like, why can't you go? Like, are you scared of flying? And she said, well, it would be a little hard because I only get 5 days of leave a year.
Watch.
For yourselves.
Yeah.
5 days of leave
Wait.
a year. Fair enough, Chook. By the time you get over here, you'll have one night in bloody Auckland at the Auckland Ibis Styles at the airport, and you have to go back to bloody America. What the actual hell are you talking about?
That's neoliberalism. That's how US works. Profits are the order of every day. So you have to be very wealthy. You have to be on a really high hierarchical level within a corporation to have, for example, 30 days off work, paid maybe. But here in Brazil, because the consolidation of labor laws, every Brazilian that works 12 months straight up in the same company gets 30 days of paid vacation leave. Okay? 30 days of paid vacation. You'll get 30 days to rest, and then you'll go back to work later. And the next year, you have another 30 days. And we'll have maternity licenses, we'll have paternity licenses, um, we'll have health leaves, for example. But in United States, let's say you're sick, you only receive for worked hours. So either you stay at home to get better, right? And loses the money. Here in Brazil, you wouldn't lose the money. Or you medicate yourself, which is what a lot of United States do. They take pills and go to work, even if they are feeling bad, if they are sick. So you only erode yourself more and more and more. And what makes this possible? Neoliberalism, liberalism, capitalism. So we need to uh, we need to how can I say this? We need to wipe off the every lie that was said about socialism and communism, even anarchism, to every United Statens. So this woman would like to receive someone from the United States. They only have 5 paid days, or maybe even not paid days, right? Yeah.
Just so Americans know, the standard annual leave in Australia is 4 weeks. Okay, that's the standard annual leave. My
4 weeks, 30 days, maybe 28. I don't know how they count it at Australia. Because if it's exactly 4 weeks, it's 28 days. The commercial month from Brazil is 30 days. So a commercial year here at Brazil, accounting year, Brazil is 360 days.
employee that I just hired for the new business that I'm starting, I'm giving her an extra 7 days of annual leave. So she gets 5 weeks and 2 days of annual leave a year because I'm like, little sweetener, little easy things to do on top to get you over to me. And, you know, there are periods of time where I don't actually need you. So it kind of works out anyway for both of us, you know, that I'm not like trying to like find things for you to do. So the bonus that my employee, is this normal? Is 5 days of leave a year normal? Do you have a baseline of annual leave? What's going on? What's going on? And what's like in Canada? Guys, let me know. I'm very concerned about the Americans right now. Like I actually feel sick for you guys. No wonder you guys don't leave America. No wonder you don't leave it. No wonder you guys, everyone makes.
By the way, there is a immigration movement from US to other countries because US, United States, is becoming an unlivable country. You can't, from all the videos that I've watched from Homestead Journey, from Big Man Broad, from Zacharias, from some other YouTubers, you just can't pay the living costs from the United States. There's no reason to stay at the United States. Okay? It's just not payable. you, you, you can't pay for a life.
Fun of you for not knowing anything about the rest of the world. Well, no shit. You're getting paid shit all, and you also get no leave. What the still though, look into other countries, not an excuse to be ignorant, you know.
I have a serious question. Why in American culture do families not live together? Hear me out. In Europe, in South America, in most other regions of the world, you live with your family until your early 30s, late 30s, and that's not weird. That's like completely normal and understandable. And I don't understand why in America it's like you turn 18 and now all of a sudden you're like a full functioning member of society.
No, look, this is something from capitalism, the individualism that's preyed upon by capitalism. So you have to be, how can I say this? A productive person within the society. You will battle against everyone. You have to win for yourself. That's meritocracy, which is a lie most of the cases. So even because, for example, let's say that you live with your family until your 30s. That means that you won't get a new washing machine that a company wants to sell. You won't get a new microwave that a company wants to sell. You won't get a new TV that a company wants to sell. It is more profitable to companies that you become 18 and move yourself, even if it's a rent. You move yourself to another place outside of your family place and buy your own stuff, right? Than to stay with your family. Because if you stay with your family, you won't have to buy a new couch. You won't have to buy a new refrigerator. You won't have to buy a new freezer. You won't have to buy a new whatever. You know?
It's so bizarre. I wish I could have lived with my family up until this point. I wish I could still live with my family. I love them so much. Who invented that?
And she can come back to her family place. It's just that you have this societal belief which was imposed by capitalists that you have to be an individual. You can't be a part of a community. It's not that communities don't exist, but it is something that just it is imposed. Not quite imposed as well, but it's influence. Yes, we are influenced to such individualism.
So I've been to Walmart already, and it's huge. But what is this? Costco. This is even bigger than Walmart. I'm way too European for this. I'm not able to understand. That's huge. Why is it so big?
As a European, I have to ask, why do you have 500 types of toast? So I'm currently in Switzerland right now. I'm at a castle, actually. And if you want to know what other countries think of America, just listen to this. So me and my friend got in the elevator to go up to see this castle, and this lovely Swiss man and his wife were in the elevator with us. Clearly, he spoke Italian. We didn't speak Italian, but we think that he asked something along the lines of, "Where are you from?" So we were like, "America." He goes, "America." Oh. And they both kind of sigh.
I don't think Americans.
By the way, I don't like Switzerland. It's tax tax fiscal paradise. The fiscal paradise.
In the United States realize how
Right.
the
Sigh.
I don't think Americans in the United States realize how the rest of the world sees us. Let me give you an example. A while back, I was having a conversation with my friend. Now, my friend lives here in Mexico. She's Mexican, and her daughter was going to study in the United States, or thinking about going to study in the United States for university. And she was saying to me how worried she was for her daughter to go study in the US because it is so dangerous. She was like, "I don't know, there's so much gun violence. I don't know if it's safe." I was saying to her, "You should be fine, avoid these places at night, avoid these cities." And then as I was saying it, it hit me. As a US citizen that lives in Mexico, this is something that I hear all the time about going to Mexico. People will say to me, "I don't like you going to Mexico. It's so dangerous. Did you see the news?" But the same exact thing is being said and happening about people going to visit the United States,
Yeah.
especially right now. Growing up, we're so indoctrinated to believe that we are so lucky to be born in the United States, this place where only we have freedoms and safety. But from the outside looking in,
China is has all the Chinese people has more freedom and liberty than any US citizen. I assure you.
it's completely different. People see mass shootings, gun violence, police violence.
These mass shootings are mostly at the US. You can even see massive US shooting. You can see. Wait up. I'm lost. You can see mass shootings in other countries, but what I believe it will be about 9 out of 10 worldwide happening in United States.
And now a government restricting rights. And they worry for their people going to visit the United States.
I've been trying to look up what other countries all around the world have been saying about America, and this is all allegedly from other people all around the world. But here are some things that people are saying about us. Australia has now deemed us unsafe to travel. In Norway, they are constantly talking about America and how we have the parallels to World War II and how our societal progression is constantly backpedaling. Germany has actually made an opera making fun of Trump. The UK is also deeming us unsafe to travel to because they believe that we are headed towards a Holocaust. Kim Jong
Not quite a Holocaust, but I do believe that US can be on path to a second civil war.
Un believes that we have gone too far. Yes, the leader of North Korea believes that we
Because you are going too far. You are. Kim Jong-un's right.
are going too far. Even Switzerland has now chosen a side. They are finally speaking up, and if it is that bad that Switzerland officially chooses a side, that's how you know it's bad. Other countries talk about how extremely toxic all of our foods are. New Zealand actually categorizes.
Oh yeah. From videos that I watched, yeah, U.S. food is something awful, and I'm sorry to tell you, but U.S. is going to have a more starvation from next months.
Us in the same group as North Korea and Russia.
First of all, if you're against North Korea and Russia, I don't like you. Okay, Russia isn't all good, but North Korea definitely is something like we don't like socialism. Okay.
Italy is protesting against ICE.
Yeah.
Europe now believes that America is considered a dictatorship. Many countries.
Oh, but it is. It is not quite a dictatorship. Trump would very much love to be a dictator, but he would be a entrepreneurial dictator, right? That makes sense. There's a government type. What was the name again? Plutocracy. Was HSBC that said, I think it was 2015 or 2017. They stated that US was therefore a plutocracy from that point on in time. Plutocracy is a government type where the wealthiest peoples run the country. And they ain't wrong.
Countries have closed the US to adoption. Other places like Europe and
Whoop.
Canada is protesting against ICE. Europe now believes that America is considered a dictatorship. Many countries have closed the US to adoption. Other places like Europe and Canada don't even consider us a first world country anymore, even in the medical area, because even though we are medically advanced, what good does it do if
Yes. Exactly.
nobody here can afford it? New Zealand's travel advisory has gone from a level 1 to a level 2 recently because of the lack of safety due to gun violence and troubles getting in. Canada has been told to ignore all news or medical advice coming from America because they need to look at it as misinformation.
During COVID, Trump was saying, "Oh, can't we just put Lysol?" I believe that was the name. Can't we just put Lysol in our veins and end this virus? Obviously, there must have been some people that tried to do that, which will probably have the instant death. Okay. Oh.
Australia believes that we are headed towards another world war. Other countries believe that there is not going to be another election, that we are doomed, and that Trump is now our forever president. And Ireland believes that we have quickly faded right into fascism. Now, this is just some of the things that
yeah. United States is heading toward fascism for sure, for sure. ICE is a great indicator of this.
I have seen in other people's comments on videos. So if you are from another country and there are things that I am missing out, please comment, share, let's see.
Only comment that I have, US is fucked. Sorry to say.
See what else everyone's saying about us.
The only way this ends is revolution. Revolution or civil war.
Yeah. Bro.
I have been talking about this for a year solid now, as have many people around the world. Mostly a lot of Canadians have been talking about this. We've been screaming this. The American reaction to us has been, please come help us. And then when we say, no, help yourselves, they say, we can't. We have a big military. There's a police presence. What about the guns? And I think a lot of people online have been tiptoeing around being blunt, because when we are blunt, it sounds like we were trying to incite something.
So my parents and my sister went to Europe for about 3 weeks over the holidays, and they went to Barcelona, Portugal, Rome, Catania, and then in Sicily, where my grandfather's from. He's from this little town called Campobello. And so they went there, and they also went with my sister's fiance's mother and her boyfriend, who are from Colombia. And they, of course, in Colombia, they're like, what the hell is going on over there in the U.S.? But when they were traveling in Europe, people would, you obviously spark conversations with people. And when they were asking my parents, where are you from? They say the U.S. and people are just like, oh, like, what the hell is going on there? What's up with your president? And I was like, did anybody say anything positive? I mean, there's got to be some people.
No, it's so shitty. It's so shit. I'm sorry to tell you, but
out there, like no one that we interacted with. In fact, well, I know like my whole family, they're in Sicily. They're always like messaging my mom on WhatsApp, like, what's going on? Are you okay? But then they were in the little town that my family lives in, and this old man had come up, and he was barely could speak any English, but he had asked where they were from, and he was just like, Trump, like the way he said it. And my parents were like, no, we always like messaging my mom on WhatsApp, like, what's going on? Are you okay? But then they were in the little town that my family lives in, and this old man had come up, and he was barely could speak any English, but he had asked where they were from, and he was just like, Trump, like the way he said it. And my parents were like, no. And then she ended up moving there for him, and they're not even together. But yeah, so that's what's going on over there.
Guys, here's some news from other countries that we are not being told, but they are being told. One being that Germany has considered America unsafe officially to travel to. Canada doesn't consider our medical research valid anymore. They say that it is to be considered as untrue because of the political affiliation with our educational system.
Parts of these medical recommendations will be considered not trustworthy because, as I said, plutocracy. So there will be a part of studies that will be made just to sell a specific medication, for example. So you guys don't really have so much academic credits anymore. Why? Because of capitalism, because of corruption, because of lobbies, because of neoliberalism.
These are all alleged. Other countries think that we will no longer be having any other elections and that this is going to be how it is for the rest of our lives.
Trump would very much like to be president again, but maybe he's going to die within the next months from what I've seen places, some videos. But what happens is, if he dies, this is his second year in this mandate, right? Then the Hexet will end up being president, and it will, bro, it won't be nice. Won't be nice. Really, really, you guys won't like it. The rest of the world don't like it.
Other countries consider us not a first world country anymore. Other countries consider us not a first world country anymore, based on freedom of press, freedom of expression, our education, our political freedoms. They don't consider us a first world country anymore. North Korea has stated that we are going too far. Let that one sink in. Romania is allegedly no longer allowed to ship anything to the United States. It is considered unsafe. And then this one really freaked me out. The Dutch have considered officially that Trump is more dangerous than Hitler.
Yeah.
Let me know anything else that we may not be knowing.
As an American, there are some things that you can truly never fully understand until you leave the United States. I moved out of the United States 2.5 years ago, and since then, there have been moments where certain things happen that completely and utterly break everything that I've ever known. And today, one of those things happened. I'm currently living in Germany, and very recently, I just got a part-time barista job. It's completely a part-time thing and just something for me to make some extra cash on the side. And I literally cannot even work more than 20 hours a week per my resident permit. And I haven't even started working yet, but there are some things about this job that have already broken me in a good way. As I'm in talks with the boss trying to get this job, I'm expecting like, okay, we'll do like an interview or something and they can see if they like me or not. And the boss emails me about like, they don't do like an interview, they do like a tryout day, and they're telling me like come in for the tryout day and see if you like it and if you fit in with the environment well. And when I went in for the tryout day and like all went really well and stuff, the boss asked me at the end, so like if you feel good about this job, like if you like it, if it suits you well and you think you might want to stay here, then just like write me an email and let me know by like Tuesday or whatever. And they're not saying anything about like whether they even like me or not. Like all the focus seems to be on whether like I like the job and I want to stay there. Like I ended up having to ask like, well, do you like me? Like my German isn't so good. So like, is it okay or is it like a problem? Like, how do you feel like I fit in with the environment? And only then did I hear from the
This could definitely just be German culture. I don't know. Sometimes it is. Cultural shock, cultural differences. Like not say anything because you have no complaints, and yeah, it could be.
boss like that, yeah, they liked me too. And then as we're going through the hiring process, like the first thing that they tell me is like, okay, the paperwork should be ready to sign in like 2 weeks. First things first, I need a little bit of information from you. And the first thing she asked me was, when do you want to take your vacation days this year? Literally the first thing that they asked me. Guess how many vacation days I get for a part-time 20-hour-a-week barista job? I am allotted 36 vacation days, or
36 vacation days. It's more than Brazil's. It's 30.
6 weeks in a 6-day work week schedule. 6 weeks. But the thing that broke me today was an email from my boss telling me that not only is it possible for me to go on the public healthcare system, but it's literally required for me to. For context, this has
You're obliged to get in the public health system, which you don't have in US, that you have to pay for everything, and it's awfully costly.
never been possible for me before, and since I turned 25 and moved outside of the United States, I've only been able to have essentially travel insurance. And now through the German public healthcare system, I can pay into it and then see pretty much any doctor that I want to, as long as they have an available appointment, for free or pretty much free. And the amount that you pay into it is like 100 euros a month. I haven't been to a dentist in like 10 years, and I know that partially that's definitely my fault, but I literally, through like the public health insurance, it's like required for you to go like twice a year.
So you see, you could say that the United States is mostly social liberal. No, probably liberal or neoliberal. But then this US woman goes to Germany and ends up seeing what is a social democratic country. Social democratic country. All of a sudden, shit. To have a bigger state could be good, could be interesting. We should tax more the companies.
I was like kind of freaking out when I first got the email, and I was like texting my German friends so that they could like
Not that she said that, but eventually she'll get to those conclusions, I believe.
help me understand better. And because like I translated it, but I was like, I don't want this to be like a false translation or something and me get my hopes up for no reason. And they were like, congratulations, like, but I was like really overwhelmed by it, and they were like, I don't understand what the big deal is. Like, yeah, of course, anyone in Germany who makes more than like 600 euros a month, they automatically can.
Like, what the fuck? 600 euros, $720 a month, yeah. Socialism. So bad, bro. That's what I'm saying. So she is already realizing that socialism, that social democracy is good. Socialism is so bad, bro. Do you know how many people that will have in the US? Yeah, starting to get it.
Go on the public health insurance. And they're asking me, like, what, you didn't know that? And I'm like, no, I didn't know that. Of course, I could have, like, researched that, but, like,
Research a lot into health insurance. Was moved here, but never qualified for them because my resident permit is kind of bare bones. Didn't need to research further until I eventually changed my resident permit. Okay.
the thing is when you're socialized, like, as an American, like, why would I have even expected that or thought to research something like that? We don't even have a public healthcare system like this. And a 20-hour-a-week barista gig would never give you social safety nets from it. Like, why would I have
The issue is not with this person. They haven't experienced the system we live under the US. That is a good thing, and I'm genuinely happy for them. I wish more people didn't. Didn't. The issue is the United States of America and the system built being cruel, yes. Unhumane, yes. Unlivable, yes.
expected that. People who are not American will never understand that American systemically is so harsh and unforgiving and just cruel that it socializes you. If you're poor, if you're not wealthy, then it socializes you into having just an overall pessimistic mindset or having expectations that
I experienced this as a lower middle class straight passing yes. Cisgender white woman. Now imagine how unbelievably difficult it must be for black, brown. Yes, she's getting it. She's getting it. And indigenous people experience this plus races every single day, oftentimes, to a degree that it is violent. Yes, she got it. She got it. Now she just has to start reading the Communist Manifesto
everything
and other things from Marx and Lenin and Engels and whichever way she wants to go on.
Will be so difficult and or impossible that you should set your standards super, super, super low, like in hell, so that you can be easier to exploit. Why would I have ever thought to look something like that up? I'm used to a part-time job giving you nothing. I'm used to public healthcare not even really existing. I'm used to literally everyone I love around me being like constantly in this state of like nervous system dysregulation because
I claim that these things can't also happen in Germany. Just receiving affordable healthcare from a part-time barista gig is crazy to me.
they're constantly in fear that if they have 2-3 bad months, then they're literally on the street. I'm used to seeing women in abusive situations not be able to leave their husband because they will lose their health care or it will be too financially crippling for them.
Yeah, that's one of the ways that men would held power over women. So, for example, in the 1950s, US would do a lot of propaganda that the woman should stay at home and make breakfast and make lunch and make dinner for his for her husband and not work and anything else. She should stay at home and help kids with school or whatever. But what the Communist Party at USSR would do is woman can work, woman can study, woman shouldn't be oppressed by how is machismo in English? Uh, Feminism is correct. Let's put it that way. It is. It is.
And they are terrified of being homeless. I'm used to people working 2 to 3 jobs and still being so scared of not being able to make ends meet for their family. I'm used to think
In that situation of 2 to 3 jobs and not even being quite able to pay for everything they need in the United States, it is something that is happening to most of the United States population. At least a greater amount of examples that I have from this is watching the videos from Homestead Journey.
things being impossibly expensive. I'm used to things being intentionally made to be as difficult as possible to deter people from obtaining them. I'm used to things
Yeah.
being unforgiving and
It's not that it is made to be difficult. It is actually that you guys have an exacerbated neoliberalism, capitalism, profit mindset from the companies which will pay you less and less and less as possible and push the prices upwards as much as possible. And Trump's tariffs made everything went to shit about the rise of prices because of inflation, because of the tariffs, as I explained before. Uh, and so when I say that United States is fucked, I don't want to be mean, not to say something bad. It's just that your situation is horrible, terrifying. It is.
caring and
Unless you're a billionaire.
unhuman. Like, I can't believe how easy and uncaring and unhuman. Like, I can't believe how easy it was for me to obtain the essential care that every human being needs and
Yeah.
deserves just by serving a little bit of coffee. Like, of course, you can read and research about other countries, like, as much as possible, but there's some things that you don't fully understand until you leave the United States. I'm so angry and full of grief that our government and our society and media and whoever else has convinced us that the way that we live is normal.
So, of course, not everyone thinks badly about Americans. A lot of people are still fond of the country. They're fond of U.S. citizens, but there are a lot of people that do have different opinions. And, you know, that has to do with social media. It has to do with the things that are going on in this country, the powers that be. It has to do with a lot of different things. And as of right now, this is kind of what is going on. It's the way that people, not other countries necessarily as a whole, but just individual people in different places throughout the world view the United States and American citizens. What are your thoughts, especially if you are from another country? What are your thoughts on American?
My thoughts, Homestead, is that you have to change the system. So normally, you will see politicians from left wing and right wing saying, no, because the status quo, because the system, because the establishment. You see, Trump is the establishment. He is pro companies, he is pro profit, he is against the people. He is. He is. Shit. So just from ICE deporting a lot of illegal immigrants, that not always had any violence in the police charts, only this deporting went your have hurted your farming industry, your agro-industry, agro-industrial, your agro-industry a lot. So fruits wouldn't be picked up because the workers that would do that were deported, and so these fruits ended up rotting at the trees and falling down, which this food could be on the supermarkets, but they ain't. Trump raises tariffs, absurd tariffs. So it gets costly for companies in the United States to buy products from outside the US. But US also doesn't produces that much. So you end up having a shortage of products within US. From all the actions that Trump done, he is effectively killing your country. Okay, it's uh, it's quite a terminal situation. uh, uh, when I say that I hope that after Trump, you end up with a socialist states of America. I mean it. I mean it. Because you've been neoliberal for so much time, and there's so much wealth within just a few people in your country. Yes, in Brazil that we have this as well. In Germany, you will have people that hold a lot of wealth. In France, in Colombia, Venezuela, in China, you still have billionaires as well. But what happens is communism wants to bring down those that have absurd amounts of wealth down and wants to raise everyone who finds themselves from extreme poverty and push them up. Okay? Uh, the words communism and socialism has to become undemonized in the United States. I recommend Richard Wolff's videos if anyone gets interested.
Citizens and America. I'm curious to know how you feel personally. Do you think that it's warranted what people are saying in these videos? Do you think that
What they say in these videos is absolutely truth. It's incredible truth. It's extraordinary truth. I promise you. I promise you. So I hope this video reaches as many United States as possible. And I hope this made you think a little more about how your country was designed, how it was run during decades of existence. And hope you guys become socialists. Okay.